God, the concept of God, the idea of God, could possibly be the original conspiracy theory, or the archetype upon which all conspiracy theories follow. Now, the big similarity between the idea of God or gods and conspiracy theories, let's just focus on one conspiracy theory, the most prevalent one in our social consciousness right now, which is the Qanon conspiracy theory, which, to explain in the most simple way possible, is the idea that a global cabal of pedophiles controls the world's governments. Now, what does that have in common with the idea of God? Well, the main thing that those two flavors of thinking have in common is that both of those things start at the end. They start with the conclusion. So the conclusion is there's a God that designed the whole world, controls everything, is in charge of everything, is watching everything. And then the conclusion on the QAnon side is, again, the global pedophile cabal controlling everything. And what adherents of both of those ideas do is they move backwards from that end result. And they find bits and pieces of information that they can tie in to the overarching narrative that they're espousing. So people who believe in God will find bits and pieces of things from their daily life, their daily experiences, or from history, or from just the way things are in the world, and they'll say, look, all this points to my original claim, which is that there is a God. And of course, anyone who's even superficially looked into the whole QAnon thing or other prominent conspiracy theories knows that that's pretty much what they do as well. And they will use arguments that are based on abstractions to back up what they're trying to prove, what they think they've proved. Instead of, collecting bits and pieces of information and remaining completely open to the information that you find leading you to a conclusion that you have not yet reached. The idea is that you have faith in a preordained conclusion. And when you have such faith, when you have unrelenting faith like that, of course you're going to be able to find evidence, or what you believe to be evidence, that backs up your conclusion. And then evidence that might kind of contradict or kind of put a damper on your conclusion can easily be explained away as well. Because you have already presupposed that you're correct, that you're right, that there's this entity, force, whatever you want to call it, God, that controls the world, that created the world, that's beyond the world, outside of the world, that plays a part in all of our lives and the occurrences of the world. Or that there's this big global pedophile cabal and they are doing all these things. You can easily, when you've decided that you have unrelenting faith in these ideas, everything and anything is going to be easily utilized to back up your conclusion. That's not the way you're supposed to examine things and try to explain things. What people should be doing is starting from a position of unknowing, finding pieces of evidence and ideas and facts and arguments, and then naturally following a path where you eventually get to a deeper understanding. Now, it's possible that you can uncover conspiracies all throughout history and going on today by keeping an open mind, examining fact-based evidence, finding out, oh, interesting. There seems to be evidence of a conspiracy at work between two or more people or groups of people. But that's not what generally happens in what we have come to call conspiracy theories in our society. It's a derogatory term for kind of losing track of fact-based analysis and just starting at the foregone conclusion. You know, you've already decided that the lizard people are, killing and raping children and drinking their blood because it strengthens them. The adrenochrome in their blood strengthens them. You've already decided. So then when you see something happening in our government that is peculiar and doesn't have a surface level explanation that makes a ton of sense, you can then fall back on that conspiracy theory, lizard people or Qanon or whatever the theory may be, and you can tie the things you don't understand into your already arrived at conclusion. And of course, if you're following what I'm saying here, you can see why that often will lead to folly. The reason people latch onto things like God or conspiracy theories is because the world tends to not make a lot of sense when you look at things right on the surface, or even if you start to analyze and investigate further. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. There's a lot of things that are confusing or frightening. And a tidy theory that explains it all, whether it be God or Qanon or lizard people or whatever, tidy theories like that provide comfort in the face of the discomfort that is trying to grapple with the unknown.